looks to the west, and the west is divided.
Hi everyone, I'm Brandon Carmody. I want to welcome my viewers in the United States and around the world. Thank you so much for being here. This is Brandon Carmody Music, episode number 2. And yet again, I'm coming to you from sunny Portland, Oregon. Today's location is Glendevere Golf Course in Northeast Portland. And the real reason that I'm here today, I feel a connection to my father here. We went golfing together here many times when I was a young boy in the 1980s, and I was his caddy. I drove Dad all around all 18 holes of this course in one of those electric carts. Wonderful memories. Our dad loved to golf, and I just feel his presence here. It's comforting to be here today. So, shall we get started with today's show? And our first segment today is Artist of the Day. Today's Artist of the Day is Tori Amos, and we have some breaking news hot off the press. It looks like Tori Amos and her record label, Decca Records, have announced a new album entitled Ocean to Ocean, comes out on October 29th. That is thrilling news. Tori, congratulations. The initial reports are that Tori's new album will deal with the UK's third lockdown period during the pandemic. It will deal with the isolation of the entire 18 plus months that we've all been dealing with, personal demons, but reportedly Tori's new record will deal with wherever you are at on your grief journey, both processing and dealing with grief and loss in your life. You guys, Tori Amos is singing my song. She's singing all of our song right now. So I am really encouraged and really looking forward to the new release from Tori Amos. This could be the first release that gets back to those roots, opens up the diary, taking us back to Little Earthquake's days. In 2021, this is the news I needed. So without further ado, today's Artist of the Day is Tori Amos. Let's check it out. Roll 'em. So the reason that I'm doing this video today from the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall here in sunny Portland, Oregon, first of all, it was on my route for filming other videos today. Second of all, this is the venue that I saw Tori Amos at 3 times. I saw Tori Amos perform here with her band in 2007, 2009, and then the last time I saw her, which was in 2017, I saw a solo show in here. So I've seen her 3 times inside this room, so I feel really connected to Tori in this room. But why do I love the music of Tori Amos? Well, let's start with the basics. When she came out with her first album, Little Earthquakes, in 1992, it was literally like she took her person self and climbed up onto the electron microscope and allowed all of her inner particles to be displayed for the world. Nothing was held back. It was a beautiful anthem of honesty, tragedy, relationships, rape. Crucial issues were addressed there, and she became a breakout star. Unfortunately, I didn't know about it for 2 more years until the next record. So I was actually on a choir tour. I was in my sophomore year of high school, and we all took a tour to Seattle in Canada. And I'll never forget it. We're outside the St. Mark's Cathedral in Seattle, Washington. And one of my fellow students who knew that I was unfamiliar with Tori Amos handed a Walkman to me. You guys all remember Walkman? Made cassette tapes famous, right? So I put on this Walkman, and the song was Past the Mission from Under the Pink. That's the first Tori Amos song that I heard, was Past the Mission, and I loved it. And we sort of had a lunch break at that time during our choir trip, so I managed to play the whole cassette tape all the way through to Yes Anastasia. That was the moment that I was hooked for life. When I heard Yes Anastasia, I knew that Tori Amos was more than just a beautiful singer, pianist, and a creator of music. This was a moment. This was something special and magical that only comes once in a generation. And here I am all these years later, since 1984, still talking about Tori Amos, and I hope to see her again soon. But I think that with all the complexities and the challenges of the music industry and how radio singles and pop music dominates the day, I am aware that Tori Amos has had struggles in her professional career and moved between several record labels, and it's complicated and I don't fully comprehend it, but she's had a difficult journey, even at her level. So the reason I mention that is one of my aspirations used to be to always have a record contract and to join in that game and to get into the big game like that. I don't think so, not anymore. Maybe 20 years ago. I'm sort of doing the DIY right now, and I'm going a different route. And I've learned so much from Tori Amos about how she's progressed and navigated the different challenges of the record industry and those so-called men in suit in the record industry. I'd like to think I've learned a thing or two from this whole experience. But let me start here. There's going to be a lot of videos about Tori Amos. I will try not to do one every week because we do want to get lots of other artists in, but Tori Amos is going to be a recurring character in my little music show here. Just spoiler alert right now. Tori, if you are listening and if you can hear this show, I just want to thank you for your guiding light and for sticking to your principles and adapting and continuing to go through music and all that you've done. You really have been an inspiration this whole time, and that's the reason I'm standing here as your devoted, loyal fan almost 30 years later. You are a beacon of light that is inspirational and magical to me, and you always will be. This is Sunshine from My Rain, again off the Land of Winter album, which is available on iTunes, Android, you name it, it's out there. This is Live Long and Prosper. That I think is rock on. Okay, so these were a little bit out of order, but this is It's called Today. Huh?
141.
141. Okay. So maybe one more song. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. This is called Moonshine Ray. This is not on Land of Winter, but this is also available on iTunes along with everything else. Kind of a Tori Amos cover, but it's not, if you know what I mean. is Voices. I played it about 45 minutes ago, but I think I can get away with a repeat. So, all right. Here we go. I get asked that all the time. I only play original music.
I tried to tell her.
No, I'm not formally trained. Yeah, I was 12 years old, and I'm like, hey, let's do this thing.
I said you only play your own stuff.
Yeah, I only play my own stuff.
Yeah.
But here's an original. Songs from Land of Winter. So we're going to do Take Me In. 18 months into a global pandemic. How the heck is your life in dealing with this global pandemic?
Do I need to keep my answer short? It's been interesting. I mean, so as a massage therapist, my business I was forced to shut down because it's working, close with people. Although if I had technically been working in a healthcare setting, so what I do is therapeutic massage, so it is healthcare, but without working under like a chiropractor or physical therapist or something. Working for myself didn't count as healthcare. So I had to shut down, but I did get a chance to get a whole bunch of stuff done. I got all my continuing education done. I did my research and started working on my master's degree. I rebuilt my website, did a whole bunch of stuff. And then, sorry, I'm distracted by the cat behind the camera. Yeah.
Is it all masks like you and your client have them? Because I've had a chiropractic adjustment recently and I had to wear a mask for a chiropractic adjustment.
Yeah. So now what the rule is in California is if you're fully vaccinated, you are allowed to choose whether or not you want to wear a mask. So I'm giving my clients that choice, but I work in a mask and then I've got my air filter going. But so, yeah, I was allowed to reopen back in March. And since then it's just been totally crazy because, people had to go for like a year without, getting their therapy. So they're coming in and they're really, really needing it. And yeah, it's been pretty intense. And then, I was also running around trying to help people as much as I could. Like I was getting groceries for my grandparents because they couldn't go, grocery shopping, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm just trying to reach out and support and help each other and, trying to be there for people as much as possible. So it's been, but living alone and everything, it is, isolating, productive, but definitely isolated, and it's been an interesting time.
Yeah. How are things in your state? Because I can tell you that absolutely after my senior year in '96, I went and I tried to make the pilgrimage to LA. Like, okay, I'm going to be an actor. We're going to have to go there. And then I went there, and like as everyone does, I got robbed, and it was scary. It was really, really scary, and I came right back, as you know. So.
Yeah, I lived in Hollywood for like a year on my journey back down to Southern California, and it's gross. I don't know why people like it. I guess if you can afford to live in the really nice areas, but we were living down off of where the Walk of Fame is at, and it's nasty down there. They clean it up for events, but it's not a place I like.
I think if you saw Portland right now, I know it's already gotten a lot of news coverage, but it's kind of a board up city. It's really it would really blow your mind if you saw it right now.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, it's really sad. So I'm definitely very thankful to be in this North County, San Diego area. It's nice. It looks like this.
Well, I continue to work in businesses. Of course, I don't say on my music podcast where I work, but it's in a business and I work in an office, and we're continuing to navigate the waters of this extremely complicated pandemic. I personally am frustrated that we're 18 months on. I think like a lot of other people, I ran into patients by about the second or third month, but here we are approaching 2 years. Does that surprise you? We're still no end in sight.
Well, and I can say, when we first got shut down, I honestly didn't think the government was going to prioritize health and safety over like economy and businesses. So I thought, okay, well, we shut down for like 2 weeks tops. So I've got 2 weeks to try to get stuff done. And then I'm going to be back at work and freaking out about whether or not this is infecting me and my clients and stuff. But that was not the case. So yeah, it is. It's definitely frustrating to still be dealing with it and all of the various forms of nonsense that have gone along with it.
Yeah. That's why I'm doing a virtual tour, by the way, in case anyone's curious. I'm doing a virtual tour because of COVID. You want to know the real truth? I don't have a gig right now. I'm running the ultimate con right now. I didn't have a gig anyway. So just by doing the virtual bit, people are like, oh, he can't play clubs or whatever. But no, I didn't have a gig anyway. But I do have a lot of successful people in my life right now. And it blows my mind. Every other day, they're like, catch such and such's comedy show at the Laugh-In in LA. I'm like, wow, fantastic. But like, is the audience in mass? Like, I'm curious. Like, it doesn't say on their social media like what the setup is, but I see all these headlines and all this flack right now. But I know a lot of people that are playing music shows in clubs and comedy shows, and looking at their social media, it looks like everything is totally normal, but we know it's not normal.
Right.
But I have a mixture of people that don't want to go out in public, and then some people that are like, every other week, catch me on the stage. It's
Yeah.
fascinating, the gamut of who I know and what they're doing right now.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Well, that's where like it's tempting to go to shows and to like, because I miss doing that and going to being around people, and it still kind of freaks me out though. But I think, the industry that I'm in, and like the 45-page thing I got that had all these things that I needed to make sure I was doing to keep all my clients safe, and all the stuff about, all the protocols that we needed to follow. So I'm still like, I'm not ready to go out and be around people, but I can tell you,
Yeah.
like the businesses around mine, like I see them, they've got well, we've got great weather down here though. So, at night, all the windows, they've got all the walls that open up and outdoor things. So there's bands playing and shows and
Yeah.
stuff happening, and it's happened. I don't attend, but it's fun to see it when I drive by on my way home from work.
Well, you probably saw on social media, but I did have the opportunity to play publicly. So through July and August, a program called Piano Push Play. They restore pianos and they place them around the streets of Portland for people to play. So it wasn't quite organized shows. It was more like I was dropping in when I was ready to film. So, but I was smart. I took business cards, and people were so warm and loving, considering there was total strangers. And there were all these people that were just like, oh my God, and they wanted business cards. And I saw the social media accounts go up. So for a brief moment for me, in the last 2 months, in July and August, I got to play and people were listening, and I have all the videos. I got to tell you, nothing replaces that. Nothing replaces playing for a live audience, even if it was just me dropping in on these street pianos. It was kind of thrilling in a way to feel the old feels again. I got to be honest. I loved feeling the old feels again, and how warm and nice people were, except for the homeless person that stole a bunch of my gear, which you probably infamously saw that posted. I lost over $100 worth of gear. I looked away. Next thing I know, a homeless person's running away with my True story.
Well, I believe it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen to you, right?
It was in downtown
Poor
Portland.
Let's talk about when you first started playing the keyboard and writing your songs back in 1990. There was no internet, and so did you kind of begin this journey with no audience at all?
Look, imagine being 13 years old, newly minted with musical gear, and having a larger-than-life ambition to play music, but at the end of the day or at the end of the night, you're just this 13-year-old playing your instrument with no audience. So it got really lonely and kind of isolating. But also, there is some strange solace in that experience of writing those songs, having time with your instrument too. It was really only for that first year of 1990 to 1991 before there was no audience per se, because in 1991, I had my first ever performance on the piano for a live audience, and it was like almost 500 people. I went from playing in the room to like, whoa, the stage. So, yeah, I'm telling you right now, the virtual experience does not replace playing for that audience, that exchange of energy. And to be able to play for an audience and to connect for an audience and to really have that energy and interaction. By the way, if people think that every musician showing up to a live concert, not one where they mimic it, but one where they actually have their instrument and you can tell what they're doing, if you think it's going to be the same every time, you're kidding yourself. When you're a musician, if that audience is flowing with you, that can change your performance and things can go differently with the audience. So what I'm doing right now for the virtual is kind of playing to a camera. And I've heard so many people on social media say that that feels weird to them, like performing for a camera.
Mm-hmm. So you're celebrating 31 years now of writing and playing music, is that correct?
Yes, our family moved here to Oregon exactly 30 years ago, September 1990. I used my newspaper route money to buy that Yamaha keyboard and start cracking and go off into isolation. But it was 31 years ago this journey began.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your early music. It was in the 90s. Were you influenced by any artists at that time? Did your music have a 90s feel?
Yes. I mean, yes to all. Okay, so I always get into murky waters when we start talking about influences. So I'm just going to say circa 90 to 91. At least these are the ones I'll admit publicly. Michael Bolton, Bryan Adams, Amy Grant, Kenny Loggins, Peter Gabriel, and a lot of 90s radio. I realize that's still pretty ambiguous, but does that kind of give you at least like a flav?
Sure. I love Peter Gabriel.
Cool. Think about some of them are artisans, but a lot of that's poppy, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so what I was recording on was this little half-size Yamaha, and I've got some pictures, maybe a video or two somewhere, but it had a sequencer, man. So 13 years old, just getting cracking. You'd think it would just be like just the piano track, whatever. No. I have to go all the way. It's all or nothing. Go big or go home. So I literally was creating a drum track, bass, the keyboard, saxophone. For some reason, I put saxophone on everything. I was misguided for a while, but
Little Kenny G.
yeah, that was the thing. So every song ended up being a different flavor of cheese, basically.
So you're going to have some daily segments on your show, and you're going to have a vintage song of the day?
Well, I really wanted people to hear a lot of the tracks. So, I mean, it's really personal and amazing for me, the fact that there are cassette recordings of everything I ever did right from the very beginning, from September 1990. But if you listen to the tapes, it's like, whoa. It's like Brandon started recording as he was going from 1990, 91, 92, 93, 94. So it's 5 years. These cassette tapes have all this material from 1990 to 95. And by the time you get to 95, you're like, whoa. Like I started to go a little bit of a different direction, but still nowhere near what happened with the band in 98. So I have these different eras, these different spectrums. But one thing I will say is that because it is still the Yamaha on almost all of it, it's still a lot of cheese. So I'm glad there's not any video. So glad there's not any video.
Well, actually, Brandon, we have a surprise for you.
What?
Some video has surfaced. We have a vintage clip that we're going to play for you.
Okay.
This is a clip of you performing Good and Evil on the, the Portland Cable Access back in 1993.
Oh, no. Okay. Roll them.
Okay.
4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3,
Hi, this is ZINK, and I'm here with Brandon Carmody to ask him a few questions like, if your life was a movie, what would it be?
Today, he's just not that into you.
Gosh, I thought it would probably be more like riding in cars with boys.
Not today. Oh my. All right, this segment is called Song of the Day. My special guest is Jessica, longtime legacy band member and former bassist for the Brandon Carmody Band, 1999 through what, shall we say 2010? Give it a long, okay.
Yeah.
So when we were having our rehearsal sessions in 2001 to make a big studio album, we recorded 2 tracks. One was Lonely Dream and the other was Deflator. So I want to talk about that. When we went to make the film Savage Land in 2010, we invited former Sony artist, Mr. Casey Stratton, to both sing the vocals on Deflator and join us for our faux band for the movie. So to me, this is an exciting one because Deflator was a long, ambitious project that we wanted that studio track to be perfect. I mean, do you remember we went in and editing? We were like, I don't like the way this note plays that way. And then our engineer could make things perfect. We really worked that track. But then I got to be honest, when I first got the recording back and Casey Stratton had done like 10 layers of vocals and all these harmonies, I cried. I had a couple emails from other band members that got it back. They were like, Brandon, that's amazing. I'm like, I didn't do it. That's him. That's his magic. You know, I just played 2 chords on the keyboard, man.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But was that your impression as well when you finally heard the finished vocals? Was that it? Was that Deflator? Was that a good way to round out that legacy for you?
Yeah. That's very satisfying. Yeah, good. I'm so glad you got Casey.
So folks, that's what we're going to play for you right now. We're going to play Deflator with the full band, Casey Stratton on vocals, and our finally completed recording that started pre 9/11. Deflator with the full band. Roll them. All right, everyone, this story is called The Scared Skunk, and as always, I'm here to explain what happened. So there was a short period of time where I was living with a host family in a rural home, and at the time I was working at a gas station, and unfortunately the gas station was a considerable distance away, quite the travel time. Now, a wonderful feature during my time with the host family, they had this large deck, and we were getting nightly visits from raccoons, skunks, and possibly one other species. And they'd put out large bags of dog food. Everything was pre-prepared in the dishes, right? So, look, can we put up the photograph right now? So here is the photograph that I took out these beautiful bay windows looking at the raccoons and the skunks eating together. They're buddies. They're totally friends. So, flash forward about 2 months. Brandon is having a late night getting back from the gas station, trying to catch the last bits of transit to get through, right? So as I come onto the porch area in the 1 a.m. hour, it's pitch black, and I'm fumbling with my keys, and I'm desperately trying to find the house key. And as I get somewhere near the porch, and I think I've got the right key, unbeknownst to me, there was a lone skunk, and this one lone skunk was literally like right perched by the door. And so right at the moment where I was ready to try to let myself in the door, this skunk sees me and reacts, and it was like, "Rah!" It totally freaked me out. I reacted loudly. No, I will not repeat the sound that I made. And this skunk goes scurrying off like, "Rah!" And it was crazy, like watching it in the bushy tail, like going down the trail, right? So I don't think I need to educate anyone here about what the possibility is during a skunk encounter. You get it. I consider myself lucky. So the next morning at breakfast, I asked the host family, I said, hey, I sort of had an encounter last night with this skunk. Did you guys hear anything? I don't know, did you? Well, we did hear a little girl screaming out there last night. Just hold it on there?
Yep. Try and cover up the whole thing. Go back here too. And then press firm. And I'll take it off in 30 seconds, alright? See. Let go?
Okay.
Reveal, here it comes. Look at that. Yes.
Beautiful.
Looking good.
Very nice. Thank you.
Okay, we'll try to make it different than the other one. Now let's start with this hand up, like stop on the side. No, the other hand up. That's cool. The other hand, we go right there. Good. Chin up a little higher, eyes here. Good. Chin to the right a little bit for me. Good, right there. Hold that. Good. Same thing, lean your body up towards me a little more. Same thing, chin up a little bit. Looks good. You can tilt that finger up.
I'm gonna get this back. We're gonna get that.
Good. Let's do some without the finger. Just do the hand up like you had before. Do that on this side. Let's do the block. That's it. Yeah. Good. And lean your body up towards me. Good. Chin to the right a little bit. Perfect. Just like that. That looks great. Hold that. Hold that. This time, let's turn your body this way. And you hold that hand out towards me. Yeah. Exactly. Then lean out this way. Perfect. Chin up. Eyes here. Perfect. Hold that. Great. This side. Turn your body straight out towards me this way. Well, this hand up like you're ripping off the tape on this side. Chin that side. Chin this way. Good. Lean out towards me a little bit this way. The other hand, put a fist up on this side. Exactly. Good. Hold that. Start pulling off your tape a little bit for me. Great. This side, put the tape back on again with the fist straight out towards me where it's at. Bend the elbow a little bit. The elbow a little bit. Bend this. Exactly. We're gonna put it up right there. Good. And just drop your shoulder a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Perfect. Awesome. Very nice. Thank you. You're going to speak maybe see you in a minute. I don't know. Good to see you. Thank you.
All right, everyone, this segment is called Venue of the Day. Today's venue of the day is Cal's Irish Pub. Now, this one racks up there with, shall we say, personal career regrets, missteps. In my long and storied musical career, I've had highs and lows, and unfortunately, this ranks in the top 5 list of the bottom barrel of lows, for lack of a better way to phrase it or position this. So I made a lot of mistakes, and the story is self-contained. So without further ado, today's venue of the day. This is Cal's Irish Pub, everyone, in the heart of downtown Portland. This is a real venue that I performed at in 2006, and as always, I'm here to explain what happened. So there was a contest called the Rockstar Mix It Up competition, and when I got wind of it and I saw what the prizes were and the opportunities, I couldn't resist. But just a full disclaimer, 2006 was a full 5 years after the disintegration of my band. There were no band members left after 2001. So it was just me and me. So I made a fatal career choice, kind of my Suzanne Summer a la Three's Company moment here, by overplaying my hand. And I've been beating myself up for nearly 20 years for it. So let me go into it. I submitted one of our albums for consideration for the show, knowing that it had incredible vocals and guitars and drums and all these big elements. They loved it, and they booked me for the show. Now, that was the make or break panic moment where I realized that I needed to come here and be the opening act during this competition, likely to be 300 to 400 all sweaty people all packed up in here. So that's what happened. I ended up there solo on the stage with that piano and a microphone. And as soon as I started singing from that first song, the place fell completely silent. Now, on one hand, you could theorize that they're just taking in the moment. They're hanging on, they're listening to every word. But that's not what I felt in my core. I felt in my core that the sounds coming out were abhorrent and ridiculous and painful to listen to, and that I was holding those hundreds of people hostage, and it was the longest 20 minutes of my life. And then the next band that came up after me was the Patrick Lamb Band, and he just killed it. They were incredible, and they totally killed it. And by the way, he already had a record contract. Everything was already in place. So I think this was like, $20,000 album deal or something really exciting like that, right? So there you have it. As long as I live, I will never stop beating myself up for overplaying my hand and getting booked and actually going through with performing solo with me singing in front of hundreds of people. It's never happening again. Lesson learned. Cheers.
promised love.